Good evening, you're watching Awani Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Bank Negara Malaysia projects Malaysia's GDP to expand between 4% and 5% in 2024, compared with 3.7% in 2023. This is driven mainly by resilient domestic expenditure and additional support from expected recovery in exports. The central bank's projection is in line with Putrajaya's 4 to 5% forecast for 2024. BNM said its projection is supported by the improvement of external demand fueled by rebound in global trade and the tech upcycle, seen as positive for Malaysia given its significant role in the semiconductor supply chain. It said Malaysia's tourism sector is also expected to benefit from the recovery of global tourism to pre-pandemic levels. BNM said the resilient domestic demand remains a driving force for Malaysia's economic growth, with continued employment and wage growth supportive of household spending. Meanwhile, higher household spending will be underpinned by improving labour market conditions, given the ongoing recovery in tourism-related sectors, as well as higher production and trade activities. BNM, however, added that domestic growth remains subject to downside risks from both external and domestic factors, including a weaker than expected global growth and further escalation of geopolitical conflicts. A total of 10 more public clinics will start dispensing HIV prevention drugs by this year, as the medicine has been proven to be effective. Health Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad says since the pilot program for free pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP was launched last year, the number of syphilis infections has reduced. He said according to the early analysis of the pilot project, there has been a reduction in the rate of syphilis infection from 11% to 6.5% after 6 months of consuming PrEP and to 1.3% after a 12-month regime. He also added that the percentage of the PrEP clients who started using condoms have also increased to 38.6% and 44% within 6 and 12 months respectively. A total of 3,451 individuals have received the harm reduction treatment under the pilot project as of January. Currently, free prescriptions of PrEP are available at 21 public clinics nationwide. The cost of the drugs under the pilot program is sponsored by the Malaysian AIDS Council. The first phase of the National Flood Forecast and Warning Program, PRAB, is not effective in alerting the public to potential flooding. Public Accounts Committee Chairman Dato' Mas Ermiyati Samsudin says this is despite the 129 million ringgit spent on the project. In a statement, she said the medium needed faster means of disseminating information, such as the commercial mobile alert system. Mas Ermiyati said the current flood forecasting rate of 5.6% did not meet the PRAB's target. Meanwhile, the PAC noted that the cost of the second phase had risen from 385 million ringgit to 522 million ringgit, following the addition of siren systems, web cameras and the Communication Education and Public Awareness Program. The committee also found a gap in the project's contract as it did not include a penalty clause, resulting in a lack of preventive maintenance. Small and Medium Enterprises Association Malaysia, or Samanta, has urged the government to focus on upskilling and reskilling Malaysians for higher paying jobs instead of giving in to frequent calls for a higher minimum wage. President Dato' William Ng said prioritising a wage model that focuses more on productivity, such as the progressive wage model, should also be the way forward for Malaysia's employment landscape.
How many workers in Klang Valley are really earning below 1,500? Even P-hailing workers, after you deduct out the petrol, the maintenance and so on, it gets between 4,000 to 5,000 ringgit. So who would really benefit from a further rise in minimum wage? If you ask me, of course, naturally, we're talking about the foreign workers, not Malaysians, and not even, even an office boy or a cleaner are already earning way beyond 1,500. So raising the minimum wage at this point really doesn't help our low-wage worker at all. And you must also bear in mind that it is also not true that employers are not increasing salary over the years. The median average for Malaysian in the year 2010, when we first tracked the minimum wage, was 1,500 ringgit. Last year, it was 2,600. So that's actually a 73% increment over that period. So indeed, the government is now testing the progressive wage model. It is currently on a voluntary basis. We're looking at a number of sectors we tried out to see whether it worked for the employees, if you have to upskill them, whether the productivity goes up, and in tandem with that, then the salary should go up. So the only way to do so is to upskill and reskill Malaysians. Like I just like I said, right? A housekeeper can be trained besides making the bed and cleaning a room, can also do simple maintenance. You know, if the doorknob falls out, the person can repair it. If the light bulb has problems, you can repair it. Then you cut down the need for this additional maintenance person that perhaps have to do the work previously, because now the job of 2% is being done by 1% without the person having really an additional work. It is just by the way, in that sense. So by so doing, we increases the productivity for everybody, and then theoretically, then the wages should rise in tandem.
William also talks about the reluctance of some employers to upskill their workers, saying that doing so will actually help their business in the long run.
We have many businessmen who come to me and say, look, we are so worried about training our employees, because when we train them, they get headhunted and pitched by our competitors, or in some cases, they go to Singapore and work. So my take is this: if you think it's expensive to train your employee and they leave, it is even more expensive if you don't train them and they stay with your company. So that's a perspective that I want to again repeat to any business people, any SMEs who are listening right now. And for the employees, the same. I think after the pandemic, we see the whole economy has changed. What you need to do to survive and to move up the career ladder or to survive economically in a country is totally different from before the pandemic. The world has changed. We cannot keep on blaming the government and say, look, why is our salary stagnant? Why are we not moving up? Why is our purchasing power getting low? Because the whole economy has changed. So we must accept that, and we must be willing to learn and move into this new economy, driven by digitalization, driven by low carbon, etc., the green economy. The whole economy has changed. We must acknowledge that this is a transition period that we rarely see, but we both workers and employees must acknowledge that and transition, and we skill ourselves for that.
We'll go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Penatnya terbang sana, terbang sini. Inilah antara sebabnya aku terlepas nak tengok rancangan kegemaran aku. Tapi apa dah hal? Dengan adanya Astro Go, balik je daripada kerja, aku boleh stream bila-bila masa di mana jua. Aduh, dia ni memekak ajalah. Stream tempat lain lah. Aman sikit.
Sekejap. Muat turun aplikasi Astro Go sekarang. Percuma untuk pelanggan Astro.
Welcome back. The British government is set to introduce a bill in Parliament that aims to phase out smoking among young people. The Tobacco and Vapes Bill, if passed unamended, will ban the sale of tobacco to anyone aged 15 and younger this year. Under the proposed bill, there would be new powers to change the way vapes are displayed in shops. To tackle the rise in youth vaping, there would also be restrictions on certain vape flavors and packaging marketed to children. The government has said it would not criminalize smoking itself, meaning those who can legally buy tobacco now would not be prevented from doing so in the future. It previously revealed that smoking costs its National Health Service and economy an estimated £17 billion a year. Despite objections from some quarters, including former Prime Minister Liz Truss, the legislation is expected to pass, with the opposition Labour Party suggesting it would support the measure. Meanwhile, New Zealand will ban disposable e-cigarettes or vapes and raise the penalties for those selling the product to minors. The move comes less than a month after the country repealed what would be a world-first law banning tobacco sales for future generations. Under the new laws, retailers that sell vapes to children under 18 years old will face fines of up to $60,000, while individuals will be fined $600. There will also be a review of the licensing of vaping retailers, and all disposable vapes will be banned. According to Associate Health Minister Casey Costello, while vaping has contributed to a significant fall in New Zealand's smoking rates, the rapid rise in youth vaping has been a real concern for all. The New Zealand government has received strong criticism for rolling back on a law last month that would have banned the sale of cigarettes and other tobacco products to residents born in 2009 onwards. Casey said the government is still committed to tackling youth vaping and bringing down smoking rates to achieve less than 5% of the population smoking daily by 2025. In other news, Thailand's Constitutional Court has called for more documents in a petition seeking to disband the opposition Move Forward party. The court earlier this year had ruled that the party, which garnered majority votes during Thailand's election last May, violated the constitution in seeking to change a law against insulting the monarchy.
The Election Commission, which submitted the petition for the party earlier this week, was given 7 days to supply additional documents, as the court said some evidence submitted was unclear. The party's liberal agenda and huge appeal among young and urban voters is seen to represent a threat to the status quo in Thailand, colliding with the interests of powerful conservatives and the royalist military that blocked Move Forward's attempt to form a government last year. Move Forward's predecessor, Future Forward, was disbanded in 2020 for violating campaign funding rules.
Finland remains as the world's happiest country for a 7th straight year, with other Nordic neighbours, Denmark, Iceland and Sweden, following suit, also retaining their places in the top 10. This is according to the annual UN-sponsored World Happiness Report published today, marking the International Day of Happiness.
Others in the top 10 list are the Netherlands, Norway, Luxembourg, Switzerland and Australia. The United States and Germany dropped out of the top 20 spot for the first time since the report's first edition more than a decade ago. On the other hand, Norway, Sweden, Germany, France, the United Kingdom and Spain are countries where the old are now significantly happier than the young, while Portugal and Greece show the opposite pattern. In Asia, Singapore and Taiwan were ranked at the top at 30th and 31st spot respectively, while Thailand, Malaysia and China trailed behind at 58th to 60th spots. War-torn Afghanistan and Lebanon remained the two unhappiest countries in the survey. The survey asked people in 143 countries and territories to evaluate their life, taking into account factors such as GDP per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity and corruption.
Every major global climate record was broken last year, and 2024 could be worse, the World Meteorological Organization (WMO) has warned. The WMO report confirmed that 2023 was the warmest year on record, with the global average near-surface temperature at 1.45 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The WMO said climate change indicators, including greenhouse gas levels, Earth's surface temperatures, ocean heat and acidification, sea level rise, Antarctic sea ice loss, and glacier retreat, all reached record levels in 2023. It added that ocean temperatures have also reached the warmest in 65 years of data, with over 90% of the seas having experienced heat wave conditions during the year, harming food systems. Climate change driven by the burning of fossil fuels, coupled with the emergence of the natural El Niño climate pattern, pushed the world into record territory in 2023. Scientists predict 2024 would set new heat records, noting that the year after an El Niño was typically warmer. That wraps our Wani Tonight. I'm Fana Sheh. Thank you for watching.
Daulat Tuanku.